Hello. Now we're going to be going over assignment 5, the second task, the leader program. So we'll dive right in, and to start it off, you want to start by running the leader first, then node 1, then node 2, and then your client. So you kind of want to have the all the nodes running, and then the client can connect. Node 1 and 2 can kind of be run out of order, but for the most part, you wanna start with your leader that acts as like an overall server to everyone, and then you'll start your first node, your second node, and your client. So let's do that. So we're gonna get the leader going, and you can see no history to collect. That is because when the load files call, when the load method is called, there's no file with any history or any names or anything in it, so it's not actually pulling anything. So it's actually starting completely fresh, and we're on port 8080 and we're open for connection. So now we'll connect our nodes. So now we have a connection from this address and a connection from this address. Notice how it asks for client ID. We give them the special code node to tell them that we're listening to a node. So you're now listening to a new node. It's going to treat this as a node now. And then we'll start our client. So the lead node, yeah, has to know if it's listening to a client, it needs to listen for client requests, or if it's going to be talking to a node. And now we have a connection from this address, and we see welcome, please provide your client ID. So we'll do that. Say Tony. All right. So now you see Tony and saving right here. Oh, also notice it shows your current balance in your nodes. They're both at 1,000 right now, which is like the default. So let's start off by making a request for credit. How much would we like to request? Let's say like 10,000, just so we know uh, we can't take that much out. So over here we got declined insufficient funds in bank, declined insufficient funds in bank. You can see over here it says Tony's requesting 10,000 for both nodes. Both nodes send back the declined response. So that's a no. Majority vote, so then we get declined, bank has insufficient funds. Okay. So let's make another request then. Right? Let's do 500 this time. All right. So now we got Tony's requesting 500. Tony's requesting 500. And now the current balance of both is 750. It took out an equal amount from each bank, which would be 250. It took 250 out from each bank. And then it sent back success to the lead node. So that's majority vote yes. And we say, Tony, you have taken out 500 in credit and now owe $500. Let's try and request more credit. All right, now Tony's requesting 400, and we get another decline because we already have credit taken out. So both say declined, credit already taken out. All right, so let's pay back. Let's do a payback. We'll do like 300. All right, success. Tony is trying to pay 300, and he owes both nodes 250. So now we disperse those funds to each node, and we have 150 for each node, which makes 900. Now both nodes have a current balance of 900. And then you notice it's saving here. So it's actually saving the updated amount owed in a user file, user.txt. Can actually users.txt right here. This way, if we need to restart the system, see now we only owe 200. If we need to restart the system, we have that information. All right. So your debt is 200. Let's pay off our debt here. Okay, so we pay off our debt. All right, debt is reduced to 0. So both nodes now have $1,000 back in them. Now let's say node 1 crashes. All right, so node 1 crashed. It's no longer there. We'll do a request for credit. We want 400, right? Success, 400 taken out. Tony, you have taken out 400 in credit and now owe $400. So it works if the nodes have crashed, and which is good. So then we will get into the code here. We'll exit. All right, so what I did, I have a client file, or a client class, a lead node class, a node class, and then I have a threaded node server and a threaded server, and then a user, which is just for user classes, just for keeping track of the clients. So we have like their money owed and the money owed to each bank and stuff like that. And then we have their year getters and setters, pretty basic. The threaded server is for the lead node. So when you start your lead node, let me go up to my main here. So when you start your lead node, you're starting a server, and then you're opening your server up for connections. And then each time you make a connection, you create a new threaded server. And when you make a threaded server, you run it, and then you're going to initialize the socket. So basically, you're going to ask for the information about who's trying to connect, and what you get back is either so you're going to get a message with type ID back, and you're either going to get node, which means you're listening to a node, or you can get any ID. And if you're listening to an ID, then if you're listening to a node, you set up node. If you're listening to a anything else, like any name or whatever, you're gonna set up a client. So we'll go into there right now. All right, and then you have your save and load. And then initialize is right here. So initialize, you're going to print right out, and it's going to be the first contact message. And then here is setup node. So then you're gonna say you're leading more, so you know how to disperse funds. You're leading an extra node, and then you're connecting to that node. So you're creating your socket and connecting back so you can actually talk. And then you're waiting for a confirmation message to know that you have successfully connected to the node. The node can send messages to you. And then you're adding that node to the connected nodes array. Yeah, and then you're yeah. So when you connect to a node, you send all the users. So if a node picks up like in the middle of a session, you're actually sending all your user information to that node, so it knows how much it owes the bank. It knows how much each user owes the bank. It uh, knows everything just by getting sent that data. And that's how you set up a node. And for setting up a client, it's a lot more, I mean, there's a lot more communication, but it's also a lot more basic. It's this basic client server. So you set up your communication with your ins and outs from your socket, and then you want to greet the client. So that's a greet message. And then you want to see if the ID exists in your list. So you go through ID exists, which is a method that I wrote, and you're going to find a user based off of their ID. And then you're saving. If it's a new user, you're saving them in. If it's a returning, you're just saving. But and then you wait for a request from a client. So this is like your basic communication loop here. You have your type credit requests, your payback requests, um, and then obviously if you have your exception, you're closing all those sockets. So yeah, this is where that client can make the those two requests, and that's basically the setup for a client. And then send to nodes is going to send a message to every node. So when you get a request, you're sending a message to all the connected nodes in the connected nodes array. And then you're either getting confirmation and the status is success, which is going to equal success plus plus. You're going to get a vote for success basically, and then a vote yes. All right. And then if the status returned is decline, your vote is no. And then if success outweighs fails, return a 0. And then you can, if you return 0 to the client here, you got, that's basically your good thing. So you're going to distribute your funds and receive payment. Oh, that's for payback though, sorry. Um, and then for credit, you're going to make the nodes pay, and then you're going to print to the client that it was a success. If it returns 1, then you're going to print that it was declined to the client. All right. So that's the consensus algorithm. And the rest is pretty boilerplate. You have your distribute funds, which is responsible for giving funds back to the nodes. And then nodes pay, which is responsible for taking money from the nodes. Then you have ID exists, which we went over. It's just finding a user in the array. Create new user, you're just going to create that new user if it doesn't exist already. And then down here we just have all our message builders for the JSON. So they all kind of look like this. They have your type, your message, and whatever other data needs to be sent. So you have your first contact, greet, credit success, credit declined, payment received, payment declined, and then that's what you got. And then we can go on to the client. Very similar. You're just gonna, you have a few basic methods. So main, you're just setting up that connection. So get the client connected to the leader, basically, right? Then you're gonna start the client. Start the client is basically responsible for that communication loop that you have. So wait for the server to ask for client ID, and then you're going to send the client ID over. Then you're going to wait for your welcome, and then you enter your communication loop. So you got your menu printing out here, and then choosing what request to make. You can make a credit request, a request payment, or quit. And all those requests right here. So request payment is basically you're going to get the amount. So enter the amount you want, and then you wait for them to give the proper input. And once they give the proper input, then you, oh, here it is. Then you print out that payback request, which is the JSON builder. Basically, it just builds it. And then you're waiting for confirmation, and then you get your confirmation. And then you're back into the main communication loop. And all the requests are made basically exactly the same as that. Going into Node, you have all your JSONs as well. So you have your credit declined, credit confirmed. Those are just sending those yes, nos back to the lead node when it asks, is this okay? So this is a yes. Credit declined is a no. Payment declined is sending the no back. And payment success is sending a yes back. Establishing the connection type, that's where the lead node will ask for your ID, and you're going to send node back so it knows it's talking to a node, not a user. And then confirm listen is basically just to send the lead node, hey, you're listening to a new node. Com with leader is just the communication loop that you have with the leader. So you're waiting for it to ask you for, you're just waiting for requests in there. Initialize, you're waiting for server for the message to ask for your ID. Main is just set up pretty much the same as the leader node. You're setting up your server and then also so you have a server on your node. So if you wanted to later, you could make like a peer-to-peer thing, though it's not right now. But yeah, so you make your server socket, and then you also want to make a client socket to connect to that lead node, and that's what happens in the main method. And that's pretty much everything in this project. I hope that makes it easy to understand, and thank you.